Hey, what's up guys? It's MMOHut here for MMOHut.com, and today I'm going to be going back into Guild Wars 2 to show you a little bit more of the footage that I was able to recover from this Guild Wars 2 beta event weekend. In particular, talking a little bit about the dynamic events / quests. Right here, I'm actually in the Norm area, and the quest that I'm doing right now was just to pelt these kids with snowballs. But the cool thing is, as you do quests and as you actually complete these, the kids' parents thank me for that. I thought that was hilarious. But as you do these things, dynamic events can happen anywhere on the map. So right here, all of a sudden, all these bears start attacking us, and this wasn't triggered by anybody else on the map. There wasn't a particular person who started talking to someone and say, "Hey, let these bears come in." They just showed up, which I thought was really awesome. One thing you may also notice is that if you look on the bottom left hand of the screen, my actual level is 20. However, I've been down leveled here to like level 7 to 10 because of the fact that I'm in the starting area for the Norm. So you can actually go and level in the areas that are meant for starting levels of different races and still present a challenge because of the fact that it will de-level you and make sure that the content is relevant to whatever level that you're supposed to be. So these bears are like level 9 to like 11, but we are level 7-ish, and the reason is because there's enough people here that the game feels that we are capable of challenging a level 9 to 11 bears, no problem. So as you can see here, we're just killing these waves of bears that they come in. Now as an Elementalist, I have access to 4 different elemental specs. You have the fire, water, air, and of course earth. And I can actually switch these by hitting like F1, F2, F3, and F4. And they each present their own, debuffs or buffs depending on the situation. They're also specific to weapons. So as you can see here, I've unlocked a staff. And this staff allows me to do a lot of AoE abilities, a lot of crowd control abilities. Right there you saw me put that large circle on the ground. What that allows me to do is kind of heal up my allies in that certain area for a little bit of HP. There are no direct healers, but there are healing buffs or healing abilities that do a little bit of heal. As you can see, it's on a very long cooldown, so I can't use it very often. So one thing that ArenaNet has kind of stressed is that you got to use the right abilities for the right time and moment. And I saw that my allies were getting hit pretty decently, so I decided to use it at that moment. Now you may have noticed that I had that that little letter that came up on my screen. One thing that's cool is that, let's say for example a dynamic event starts happening in an area we're questing or an area you're doing a quest. The dynamic event most likely will contribute towards that quest. So the quest originally was to hit these kids with snowballs, make them fall down, and then to protect the kids from like beasts and stuff like that. So originally my whole goal was to just pelt as many as I could with these snowballs. However, when the bears started showing up, my focus shifted from doing something a little bit more casual to a little bit more defensive, protecting all these kids from the bears. And that contributed towards the quest, and I was able to actually have that completed while still working on the dynamic event, not having to go back to what I was doing afterwards. Which is what's cool about questing and dynamic events is most often they're not going to give you just one way to finish the event or the quest. They'll give you multiple options: defend a keep from bears, play around with the kids in the area, pick up some berries, something like that. They give you multiple things so that you don't have to just keep looking for bears to kill or animals to kill. You can look for them while you look for things to pick up, while you look for kids to hit with snowballs, all kinds of things. Now one thing you may see through this is the little word combo pop up over people's heads. A lot of the AoE fields that I put down as an Elementalist are combo enabled for other classes. So for Rangers, for melee, for example, if I put down like a static field, which is the electricity field, or a fire field, like a magma thing, that if they shoot projectiles through that, they'll get comboed and do more damage or ignite the enemies on fire because they actually shot it through that field. So you'll see me here when I put down like magma field or something like that. A lot of times, you'll have the Ranger just combo through that with his arrows, do a lot of damage. So we're actually coming up here on the end of the event soon, where we've killed off all these bears, and we just get, little bonuses, etc. One thing that I would touch on that's kind of unique to the game is that you don't actually have to go back to quest givers when you finish a quest. You notice that I had that letter that popped up on my screen. All of the quest givers send you mail when you've done your quest. So you'll get your quest reward in the mail. These oftentimes is pretty much just like silver or gold or copper, quest rewards. But the personal storyline in itself, the personal storyline which is unique to your class or unique to you as an individual that you do in an instance area that's specifically for you, when you finish a quest chain in there, that rewards you with like some good experience and usually an item like a weapon or some armor, etc. like that, like good quality item. So you have that as a quest reward that's other than, you know, gold or copper or silver, etc. So look at all these bears. So many bears on the ground. We've killed so many. And I like that they're actually persistent. You know, they don't fade away. They're here for pretty much the entire event until we've completed it. But as you can see there, we've actually completed the event, and the rest of the bears are kind of running off, a little bit more docile now. So what I thought I'd show you is a little bit more of a complicated, large-scale event. So that was fairly large, but it wasn't, you know, exactly grandiose. You're fighting bears in particular. This event right here was called the Frozen Maw event. And it actually started where we were just kind of killing these like corrupted icicles, essentially. There was all these corrupted icicles all over the ground. And it wasn't anything to it, you know, we were just killing them. And all of a sudden, this thing pops up that says, hey, this guy's going to come inspect this thing here in the middle. So I don't know if you saw it, but we had this middle ice spike there. And there's this NPC, as you can see, running towards it because he wants to inspect it from the local town. So all of a sudden there's these players grouping around him. They know exactly where he is on the map. It's telecast to everyone. And we have to protect him as he goes to inspect it. So again, all of a sudden a normal quest turns into this huge thing with other allies. And again, pop up there. Other allies and you know, people to actually participate in. It's not just a single quest. And that's one thing that I saw throughout Guild Wars is that it always encourages team play, always encourages, you know, groups of individuals questing, which as an MMO, a massively multiplayer online game, that's what you want, right? You want to encourage people to actually participate together. I played Star Wars and Knights of, you know, the Old Republic MMO, and one thing I saw in that game is it really didn't encourage a lot of team play. It was very singular play, and in fact it got so singular to the point where a lot of the open world, you know, kind of like group quests, people just weren't doing. People were just sticking to the single stuff.
Totem. Dragon cannot take the growl. They're a pain, but they are our pain.
So right there he mentioned that, hey, we should take this out. This isn't something that should be here. So actually all of us start, you know, contributing towards taking this out. Now again, we've been de-leveled here, I think level 10 from 20. But keep in mind, this is a level 10 zone, and we're about to experience something that's fairly epic. So Arena really wants you to go out in the map, you know, to kind of experience all the different aspects of the game, not get penalized for being higher level and, you know, feeling like it's a cakewalk, which I really enjoyed. You know, I felt like everything was always a challenge, always fun. Some people may complain that, you know, they can never just like raffle stomp something, but, you know, that's just not the focus of the game. So we just killed that portion, and each step of this quest chain actually rewards, you know, experience, gold, or like reputational points, which you can use to spend to get like dye or armors, things that are specific, you know, usually things that are cosmetic or just PvP weapons, stuff like that. And all of a sudden we have this champion guy that shows up here, this champion chief, and this event is about to just get super hectic. So we're all beating on him, but can't do any damage like that. And as you can see on the sides here, we have these guys that are coming out. So all of us are like, okay, can't kill him, what do we gotta do? And we realize that, oh, all of a sudden we gotta kill all this kind of stuff. So he starts channeling this thing, and it's got like a timer. As you can see, there's like, 3 portals that we have to fight. And these portals are summoning like these ice elemental guys. And on top of that, we also have to kill some chieftains. So, or squad leaders essentially. So everybody here is just contributing towards that. Now, I'm not partied up with anybody except this one guy who was actually from the forums. And the fact that I'm not partied up with these people doesn't mean anything. Like, I still get just as much experience, just as much rewards for just being here and being involved in the event. The more I'm involved with the event, the more rewards I get, obviously. You know, gold, silver, copper, etc. But I don't have to be partied with anybody. One thing also is that it's not a competition. I know a lot of times when people play like Rift, you know, or Warhammer Online, both of those things had dynamic quests, dynamic events, but it was more of like competitions. People wanted to try to do the most possible so that they get the most rewards. And the thing is here, as long as you were participating, healing allies, reviving allies, doing damage, If you were here throughout a lot of the event or did a lot of the event, then you get a lot of the reward. And I really like that because it just promotes, you know, team play. People want to heal everybody else. People want to just do damage. People want to do everything together and kind of cooperate rather than trying to steal everything. There is no kill stealing in the game. Nobody can take your kill. As long as you attack the foe and you attack it enough, then you're going to get credit for it, which I found to be very nice. So some people may be like a little miffed that there's not like the Holy Trinity, tanks, healers, DPS, but it actually works really well in Guild Wars. Things have random, you know, aggro meters. They start attacking anything, and if you attack it enough, it'll attack you, etc. So what you end up having to do is, you know, use your skills effectively. Dodge, you know, heal. I've got a couple of utility skills from like 6, 7, 8. 6 is my heal. 8 is like an AoE bubble that actually protects me from a few attacks for a while, and then when it breaks, it shatters and does damage around me. And then 7 is like a debuff to the enemy, buff to myself. So these types of abilities really help you in cases where you don't have dedicated healers or you don't have dedicated tanks. And it just worked out quite well. You have, of course, the people who can tank better damage than you. They're going to be up in the front meleeing stuff, etc. But for you in the back, you know, you don't have to worry about healing them so much. They got their own defensive abilities that they can use, and if used correctly, they won't die. But you still see people are going down, people are dying, you know. It's not all a walk in the, you know, park, even with this many people. Because of the simple fact that dynamic events, they scale to however many people's in the area. So now that we've killed that, we realize that we've got these 3 guys here on the right hand side that we've got to kill, and then we're going to be focusing on the main boss. One thing I should touch on is that you notice there is a timer for him casting that. Now, we didn't actually, spoiler, let him finish casting that, but you could assume that when he finished casting that, we would have failed the event and some greater monster would have come out. Now, one thing about events in Guild Wars is that when you fail an event, you don't necessarily have to repeat it. It actually will kind of like splinter off into another dynamic event that you have to complete at that point. So we would have had to fight something else besides him if we'd have summoned it. And all of a sudden the camera pans back and we're like, oh crap. All of this ice is summoning up here. And now we have to fight the main guy himself. So this is called basically like a zone-wide huge monster boss. You know, this guy in particular is kind of small, but it's going to take everybody. He does a lot of damage. As you can see there, he puts those huge AoE circles on the ground. They knock everybody down, and they're probably like 1 to 2 shots. In melee range, he can knock everybody down quite effectively, and in fact, if you're not paying attention, not rolling and dodging, you get taken out quite easily. So as you can see here, I'm going to put my little AoE healing down there because I noticed those guys were taking some damage, and they're going to take some damage again. I took some damage, took me down more than halfway. And put down a little AoE field here that they can combo to kind of chill him. I thought it was pretty cool. As an Elementalist in the water spec, if I put a chill down on him, it actually will cause him to cast his abilities slower. They'll have longer cooldowns on them. So if you can keep that debuff up, then he won't cast his abilities quite as much. I got a little bit too close there and got knocked down. But what's pretty cool about this is I can fight to survive here. I'm mashing 4, and when I mash 4, this allows me to regenerate health. And if someone comes to help me along, I can actually get back up out of the battle. My other 2 skills are kind of meant for like 1v1 when I'm taking not a boss character. Good use of my AoE shield there, I have to say. Didn't get taken out there. I could have died again because I was getting up. But my 1 and 2 buttons allow me to like take down smaller enemies and revitalize myself alone. Whereas my 4 ability allows me to revitalize myself when I'm not being focused by like a boss monster, which I thought was pretty cool. So we're here, we're killing this guy. When it comes to balance in the game, balance for dynamic events, balance for range melee classes, ArenaNet has stressed that right now it's a little bit too easy for range class. As you can see, I don't have to really worry about too much. Occasionally AoE circles from here or there, but it's much harder for melee. Melee gets knocked down quite as a lot. So they're going to end up balancing it better to where melee and range just have just as much challenge. You know, I'm having to run around just as much. And because I don't have to stand still to cast my abilities, that works out fine. You know, I'm not having to stand in one place, cast an ability, move, stand in one place. I can constantly move around kite. As you can see, the Guardian made a huge AoE bubble there that protects you from projectiles. And it's kind of cool, you know, you just have all these classes just, you know, grouping up together to help each other out and using each other's abilities to benefit each other as well as debuff the enemy. And it's nice to see that type of interaction where everybody's not just concerned about themselves or concerned about their particular role, but everybody has like a combination role. When it came to abilities, when I looked at all the abilities for the different classes and what you had at your disposal to use, you know, you can swap your abilities out from 6 to 9. Those are all custom. You get to choose what abilities you want to use in those areas as you unlock them. And you unlock them at whatever pace you want. So you can unlock them, you know, you save up skill points that you find throughout the world and unlock a super ability. I had abilities as Elementalist that I could summon down like a lightning hammer for other people to use, or a frost arrow, or frost archer for other people to use. One thing is, you notice that he's now turned into a giant ice elemental, does more damage, more AoE, as you can see, persistent AoE in areas. So it's not just one form the whole time. And keep in mind as well, this is just level 10. There's 80 levels in the game, and these types of events are present throughout the entire game. When I was going from 1 to 20, I saw these events all over the place. And they're really cool. It breaks up the standard questing and it really gets everybody playing together. And I found this in combination with your personal story quests, as well as just your general quest in general. Those are really what makes a cool game. It makes you keep wanting playing because you keep wanting discovering. And it really promotes discovery, you know. Like, I could have just moved on to like the level 20 zone in human area. But I chose to come here to the Norn area because I thought it was pretty cool. It was a different environment, and as of that, I got to experience these different cool events. One small touch that I think is really cool is that players' characters will often emote. So they'll often say when things are cold, or when, you know, we're trying to quickly push down a boss enemy, you know, they say quickly, you know, stuff like that. Touches like those really make a game extremely immersive, and I'm glad to see that type of stuff. This guy is getting really low. For Great Justice, looks like a warrior just like goes in there and falls to the walls. I do have a player I noticed not being revived there on the left. I should go revive him, but I don't know if I do. So these dynamic events, like I said, really prevalent always. An example of one dynamic event that I'm not showing here, but I was actually able to go to a town, and it was actually contested because of the fact there was a giant there. He actually broke down the walls of this place where I could go normally and repair or, you know, sell stuff, buy stuff at a vendor, and he had killed all the guards. He killed all of the NPCs there, and he was killing all the players. And actually it was quite difficult because we didn't have enough players to actually take him out. And it took literally like, I think, 20 minutes for us to gather enough players so that we could drive him out and kill him, so we could retake that place, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to actually, you know, spawn there or teleport there as a waypoint. It was contested because of that reason. So those are some of the impacts that dynamic events can have in your questing places. And success! We have killed them. And as you can see, everything's kind of falling down, and it's much like an epic raid boss, but at level 10, which is pretty awesome. I think the earliest time this happened was at level 7 in the Char Zone. There was a raid boss like this. So they happen at all different kinds of levels. And because there's no like group, you know, dynamics or anything like that, everybody gets a piece of loot. So although this piece of loot I can't use, I did have the opportunity to get a piece of loot here, and I was able to collect it just by, you know, clicking on the guy, getting it. No rolls for loot. No fighting over loot. Everybody just had a chance to get something depending on how much they contributed, which I thought was really awesome. So guys, that was my look here at dynamic events here in Guild Wars 2. As always, if you guys want to learn more about Guild Wars 2, you can do so by checking out the link below at MMOHut.com. This has been Spunkify. I'll see you guys later. Spunkify out.
I feel strong.